Welcome back, focused learners. Today we're tackling a seriously fascinating explainer. We are decoding the Bosch India supply chain. If you've ever found yourself wondering, how do we actually transition from just being a standard local vendor to becoming a global enterprise partner for a massive engineering giant? Well, you're in the right place. We're breaking down the strategic roadmap from our sources and, okay, let's dive into this.
So here is our tactical mission briefing for today. We're looking at 5 crucial phases to help you bypass the usual gatekeepers and really position a company to secure a contract. Phase 1 is the reality check. Phase 2, finding the right gatekeepers. 3, the digital gateway. 4, non-negotiable compliance rules. And finally, Phase 5, your step-by-step playbook. Let's get right into it.
Starting off with Phase 1, the reality check. This is all about shifting your mindset from vendor to technical partner.
Before we even think about who to email or what technical portals to click through or how to prep a facility, the sources emphasize a massive foundational mental shift. You see, selling to Bosch India is absolutely not like selling to a traditional automotive company, like, say, Tata Motors. Tata Motors is primarily a vehicle manufacturer, right? Their focus is heavily on running efficient assembly lines. But Bosch India, they're a high-precision engineering giant. They aren't just buying parts or materials to just slap onto a chassis. They are building incredibly complex, vital systems. We're talking electronic control units, ABS braking modules, intricate fuel injection systems. And that kind of manufacturing requires intense, literal, gram-by-gram technical scrutiny of every single component they source.
So, the crucial point is perfectly captured by this quote from our source material. Your pitch cannot just be about high volume and low price. Seriously, if a supplier walks in with a standard vendor pitch, just pushing cheap, bulk materials, they are going to get instantly rejected. The teams in Bengaluru or Pune aren't just buying for the Indian market. They are governed by incredibly strict, non-negotiable global quality rules set at their headquarters in Germany. You absolutely have to prove extreme precision.
But hey, don't let those strict standards scare you off, because the research reveals a real golden opening here. Bosch India is currently under immense internal pressure to localize their supply chain. Right now, they're dealing with sky-high import costs, heavy customs duties, and just painful logistics delays trying to bring components in from Europe or China. They actively, desperately need local suppliers who can step up and indigenize these parts without dropping the ball on quality. That is the massive opportunity we're looking at.
Moving right along to Phase 2, finding the right gatekeepers. We're talking about bypassing generic procurement to find the real decision-makers.
Listen, if you were just blindly cold emailing generic purchasing IDs and crossing your fingers for reply, you are literally just wasting your time. Instead, the sources suggest a secret backdoor approach. You actually want to skip procurement entirely at the start. Your strategy? Get on LinkedIn and target the R&D and engineering teams. Specifically, search for titles like Component Development Engineer, Material Expert, or R&D Manager. Why them? Because these are the folks who actually write the technical specifications for Bosch. If they see your advanced materials or stamped parts, and they love them, they're the ones who will push procurement internally to trigger a request for quote, or RFQ. They hold the keys.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly where to aim those networking efforts. Bosch isn't just one giant monolith. It's split up into completely separate divisions. If a supplier makes traditional parts, fuel injection, or powertrain components, they need to zero in on Bosch Limited in Bengaluru or Pune. Braking or safety systems? That's Bosch chassis systems. And if it's electronic boards, sensors, or EV components, your precise target is Bosch Automotive Electronics, or RBPAI. Your outreach has to perfectly align with the exact division that fits your product. Now, there is one super interesting exception to this whole process: the open Bosch innovation route. If a company is a startup, or if they've invented something genuinely unique, think like a patented eco-friendly polymer or a cutting-edge smart sensor, they can actually skip the standard route entirely. Open Bosch is essentially a VIP bypass lane that fast-tracks cutting-edge suppliers directly to the business unit heads. It's a real game changer if you have the tech to back it up. Okay, let's look at Phase 3, the digital gateway, entering the heavily guarded digital system. So, once you've done the hard groundwork and effectively networked with those engineers, you then have to navigate Bosch's super strict application system. And here's a fascinating absolute rule from their system: no paper, no emails, digital only. Seriously, those traditional glossy corporate brochures and long-winded introductory emails, completely obsolete here. Bosch simply will not accept them. Every single thing goes through their centralized digital process.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the real catch with Bosch's mandatory platform, SupplyOn. It's their global third-party supplier portal. You absolutely must get on there and fill out this massive, highly detailed profile about your factory's capacity, machinery, and financial health. But here is the hard truth. Merely registering on SupplyOn does not equal an automatic chance to quote. Not at all. A profile will just sit there, dormant in a database, until an internal Bosch buyer actively searches for it. And this is exactly why the networking we just covered in Step 2 is absolutely mandatory. You need that R&D engineer to tell a procurement buyer, hey, log into SupplyOn and search for this specific company.
Let's slow things down a bit for Phase 4, non-negotiable compliance rules. This is all about surviving the compliance gauntlet. These next requirements carry intense gravity in the source material. I mean, they are essentially absolute deal breakers for Bosch. The first major hurdle is the Bosch Norm N2580. Think of this as Bosch's internal, sacred Bible for chemicals and materials. It rigorously regulates exactly which hazardous substances are banned or restricted. And it doesn't matter if the product is industrial grease, plastic granules, packaging, or metal sheets. Suppliers have to sign off and legally guarantee that their products fully comply with N2580. No exceptions.
Next up is the IMDS, or the International Material Data System. This is a global automotive database, and honestly, the level of detail required here is just staggering. For automotive components, suppliers must log every single gram of material that goes into their parts. Bosch demands 100% transparency on the raw material supply chain. They want to know exactly what is in the parts they are buying, down to the absolute granular level. Then, you face the VDA 6.3 audit. The sources really emphasize that Bosch doesn't just inspect your final product. They rigorously interrogate exactly how it's made. They will send an auditor directly to a factory floor to run a strict manufacturing process audit. If a shop floor is messy, if documentation is weak, or if machine calibration logs are outdated, the supplier is going to fail immediately. It is brutal, but it's required.
And finally, Phase 5, your step-by-step playbook, executing the master plan.
We've covered the mindset shift, we've identified the gatekeepers, unlocked the portal, and learned the strict rules. Let's move to and see how this builds into a clear, chronological sequence. Here is the exact 5-step playbook from the sources for securing that contract. First, you network with R&D on LinkedIn. Second, get your SupplyOn profile approved based on their internal request. Third, prepare for and pass that tough VDA 6.3 factory audit. Fourth, go through sample validation, known in the automotive world as the PPAP sign-off. And finally, Step 5, you secure your commercial trial order.
Drilling down into the tactical nuances of those first 2 steps, really getting a foot in the door, the execution here is absolutely everything. When you're reaching out to those component development engineers, the sources advise you not to send a massive corporate deck. Just don't do it. Instead, send a clear, concise, one-page technical data sheet, or TDS. On that single page, explicitly highlight how your product offers cost savings on logistics or better performance compared to the imported alternatives they are currently forced to use. Once they are hooked based on that hard data, that is exactly when you ask the engineer to trigger a SupplyOn invite.
And a vital reminder from the roadmap, while all that digital paperwork is processing in the background, your facilities must be physically prepped for that VDA 6.3 audit. The sources strongly advise ensuring your documentation is pristine, your shop floors are perfectly organized, and that the company already holds basic automotive certifications, like IATF 16949, long before the auditor ever sets foot in the building.
We can really bring this explainer's core thesis together with this excellent summary quote from the source. Walk in as a technical partner who can help them indigenize a part. Prove your quality can match German standards, and you'll get their attention. Successful suppliers to Bosch don't rely on generic sales pitches. They speak the language of engineering partnership, quality compliance, and strategic localization.
Which leaves us with this final provocative question. Are you ready to stop being a vendor and start being a partner? The strategic roadmap is laid out, the real gatekeepers are identified, and the compliance rules are set. Now it's completely up to the supplier to execute. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, focused learners. Keep studying, keep optimizing, and I'll catch you on the next deep dive.